Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Welcome to Red Storm Chasers. I'm Vincent here with Craig and Nick. What a week for St. John's basketball. Back-to-back wins, and just like that, they pull us back in and get us back on the train and back in the positive. Guys, how's it going? Great to be back on the pod.
It's always great after winning 2 games in a row, going to the brink, the precipice, as they say, of this season and bringing it back. Really, building character.
Absolutely fantastic week for St. John's. Made sure we solidified our NCAA hopes. Finally feeling like we got a little, for a minute there, we faltered, but now we're feeling good, baby. Feeling fantastic.
It certainly was a bounce back week. With everything that happened, right? The Rick Pitino press conference, you lose 2 games, you think you're going to win. And, all of a sudden the NCAA tournament that we talked about at the beginning of the year that's been hyped up was looking like it was completely gone. Listen, the win against Georgetown, although it was just a win against Georgetown, it is the first game after the press conference. The team comes out. It didn't always look great. Okay. The Georgetown win wasn't pretty. And there were certainly moments where it was like, oh boy, this might happen again. But it didn't. They held on. And then really the culmination was Sunday against Creighton when the guys put it together. And finally we saw what this team could look like by beating the number 15 team in the country when they're playing, with a little kick in the ass, right? With a little bit of, this is the push they may have needed. And I think he did a good job.
I think Rick Pitino was playing 3D chess because, obviously rattling your guys is something. There's an article in The Athletic by Dana O'Neill, and she said that he's done this basically at every stop that he's been. He did it when he was in Providence. He said that he called, I forget, the one guy and said he's not even a scholarship player, and they're the best player on their team. And then they went out the next year, and then they went to the Final Four. And he did it. He did it at Kentucky. He told us, I wish, if I didn't inherit these guys, stuff like that. So basically, this is par for the course. But I think the part of the 3D chess is that the national media had kind of soured on us. We hadn't really got a lot of attention because we hadn't really, lived up to what the expectations were from them. The press conference brings all the national media attention back. Mm-hmm. Brings the hype back around it. Good, bad, but it's there. 100%. Then all of a sudden you beat Georgetown, which is a game we're probably going to win. And then also, by the way, in that week, just a little nugget. Our most rich and famous alumni, Mike Repoli, decides, oh, by the way, next year I'm all in because I love the press conference. So I'm going to spend 7 figures to make sure that next year we're even more competitive. So was that a ploy? Did we know that was going to happen? All I can tell you is that all of a sudden it went from, St. John's in trouble to, oh, wow, look at what St. John's going to be like next year. And all of a sudden now we got some momentum and we're a national story. So, if it's close on Selection Sunday, they're going to say, maybe we put these guys in the tournament.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt about that, right? No one in a close call leaves Rick Pitino out, right? And going back to what you said, he's done this everywhere. He did the Boston Celtics, right? Bird isn't walking through this door. McHale's not walking through this door. Sure. In his famous press conference there. And, it didn't really work with the Celtics, but it seemingly worked here, at least so far.
It worked pretty much everywhere else, to be honest.
So I think, we've got ourselves back on track. Let's take a look at where we're at right now, right? Big picture talk. We are currently sitting in the 7th spot of the Big East heading into the week. 8-9 on the season, 16-12 overall after our 2 victories last week. Now, why that's important? The Big East tournament obviously starts on Wednesday. Teams 6 through 11 play on Wednesday. The higher seeds do not. Now, looking at the rest of the conference as we head into this week, Providence is currently in the 5 spot at 9-7. They're catchable for us. So it is possible that we could play ourselves into a spot if we win out where we could end up in the 5 spot. It's a tough road, though. I would say most likely we're going to end up in the 6 or 7 or 8 spot. Right around us, Villanova 8-8. They're right ahead of us at 6. Xavier right behind us, 7-9, and Butler right behind them at 7-10. DePaul has locked in. I guess they haven't technically locked in the 11th spot, but they're going to be there, and Georgetown is going to be the 10. So the question then becomes, where do you want to play in the Big East tournament, right? When you look at it, the 8-9 matchup is a tough one. That that game goes on to play the 1 seed. So they'll play UConn, who is currently sitting in the 1 and is likely to finish there. The 6-11 game, first of all, you get DePaul in the first round. Then you go on and you play the 3 seed. So that's not a bad matchup. Right now, the 3 seed Seton Hall, I know certainly if I'm looking at it, the Seton Hall and the 3 seed, that's a matchup I take again. Now, conversely, Creighton is in the 4 because we just beat them. If Creighton's in that 3 spot, I'm not really sure we want to see Creighton again. I don't know what you guys think.
I wouldn't mind seeing Creighton again. I wouldn't mind getting another shot at them because we split with them. We have another. I mean, I think we're a better team. We already beat them at the Garden once. We beat them again at the Garden.
We also almost beat them in Omaha. Frankly.
Yeah, we lost.
We were a foul call away.
2 points?
We were a foul call away from beating them. So there's something to say that we match up with them well. Now I don't disagree with you that
That's right.
you don't. We just beat them, but I'm not afraid of Creighton. Frankly, we clearly have a secret sauce that holds them. I mean, look, the odds of holding them so low in terms of 3-point percentage 3 times in a row, probably low. So, probably better off seeing Seton Hall, but we lost to Seton Hall twice. So I don't know that we really want to see.
Well, that was kind of my thinking, is that we're kind of due against them. Now, listen, we've been due against Seton Hall for a while, and it's never come out in our favor. So maybe that's just well-wishing. But I think, certainly I think I'd rather do that. Regardless, I kind of think our best spot is the 7-10. You play Georgetown, you get a little more credit for the win, first of all, against Georgetown than you do against DePaul. And then you go up against Marquette, who is a team that we did not beat this year, lost to twice, but is a team that I think we do have a nice matchup against, and we have played them close. And they're a team I, again, think we're due against. So I would almost rather be in that one than in the 6-11, even though you're going to get the layup against DePaul to start.
I don't disagree with that, but personally, I think our best spot is in the 5 spot if we can get there. And I don't think it's an impossible quest to us to get to the 5 spot. I think it's unlikely, but I don't think it's impossible because
I don't know if it's impossible. I agree with you. I just think it's unlikely.
So Providence plays Villanova, and then if I'm not mistaken, Providence plays UConn and Marquette, and then Villanova plays Seton Hall and Creighton. So they're all playing the top. They're both playing the top 4 guys in the league, and I think they each play Georgetown.
Yeah, I think there are opportunities. There's a chance we can get to the 5, and if we get to the 5, that's great. But I just, I think most likely we're going to end up in the 6-7 range.
I think the other thing to remember is we do hold a tiebreaker over Villanova, so that is
true.
An important thing to remember in terms of all this seeding. Nova does have. Look, we have the easiest stretch of anybody down left. I mean, add Butler. Well, certainly the Big East, right? We have DePaul again.
For sure.
Georgetown and DePaul, and then we have Butler. Now, Butler is sitting right now in 10th. So we play the 10th, 11th. Oh, sorry. We play the 9th, 10th, and 11th team in the Big East right now. That's where we play, right? And now I don't think Butler's a bad team. Like, certainly nowhere near Georgetown.
They've got a shot at making the tournament, an outside shot, but a shot.
Right, but my point is in terms of, like, Villanova plays Georgetown. Okay, they're going to win that game. But they play at Providence, at Seton Hall, and at home against Creighton. Those are tough games. Those could break either way, right? Yep. So that there's no guarantee that they win the game. And we are tied with them in the win column. So, like, and we, like you would imagine, you would have to hope we're going to win out, right? This is all obviously saying we're going to win out. Providence, on the hand, is at Marquette. That's a very tough game. Home against Nova, which is an important game for us to watch.
Yeah.
At Georgetown, okay, they're home against UConn. So, like, the odds of Providence winning more than 2 games is, I wouldn't say very high. And if they win 2 games, they're only at 11 wins. If we win all 3, we're also at 11 wins. So there's a very real possibility we could get to the 5 spot. I think being in the 5 spot is better than being in 6.
Well, you avoid the game on Wednesday.
Correct, which is better. Now, you do have to play UConn in the second round, which on a Friday.
That's why I almost would rather be in the 6 or 7. You keep UConn on the other side of the bracket, and this way you get a nicer road, and you can get another quality win. Because remember, for us, this Big East tournament is going to count as home games. Our only possibility of quad 1 games is going to come against Creighton. It's going to come against Marquette or UConn. Every other game for us is not going to be quad 1 because they now count as home games for us. And listen, UConn's really good. I hate them, but they're really good. Yeah. And the longer we can avoid them and hope maybe somebody else upsets them, the better that is for us.
So I think there's 2. I think you're right. I think there's 2 ways to look at it. There's the one way to look at it is what do we think is the best path for us to win the Big East tournament? I think the best path for us to win the Big East tournament is probably what you're saying. Is probably being 7, even 6. Either way, avoiding UConn, getting, hopefully going that way. That's not necessarily what's best for our at-large hopes.
I agree. Well, a little bit.
If you get the wins or not.
Remember, the wins or not. However, if you win the Big East tournament, it doesn't matter.
I'm saying you're looking at it two ways, right? If you're looking at a path to win the Big East tournament, that's one thing. Looking at a path to create the best possible last argument to make the tournament is a different thing, right?
True.
Then you want to play Georgetown. You don't want to play DePaul because DePaul does nothing for you. Not that Georgetown does a ton, but you want to make sure you win that game, and you don't want to be in the 8-9 game.
So 100 net spot difference.
Right.
Yeah.
Georgetown. Then you're going to get a game. Then you're getting a quad 1 game on Thursday. Right. Most likely. You're going to get a quad 1 game on Thursday.
You're going to play Marquette or Creighton.
Then you have your shot, right? That's a better chance for us. It may not be the best path, although it may be the best path, frankly. But my point is there are two ways to look at it, I think.
But it's not wrong.
Wouldn't mind.
Frankly, we don't have any choice. The answer for us is we have to win the next 3 games, and then whatever the dice rolls out is what.
Of course, but it's something to talk about. Talk about which path do you prefer? And I actually think I prefer the path that allows us to win the Big East tournament because even if a St. John's team, right? You're talking about a St. John's team that's coming into the Big East tournament at this point with 19 wins, right? They go down the line. We're gonna get 20, right? If the path we're at 21, 22. You don't even win the championship. You're at 22 wins. You're in the Big East championship. There's no way St. John's is left out.
That's 100%.
No way. To tell you the God's honest truth, 21 wins. You make it to the semifinals with a win over Marquette. You're at St. John's in the tournament.
St. John's for the first time makes it to Friday to make it to the semifinals of the Big East tournament. Rick Pitino being there for the first time after he fired up everybody and made it to Creighton. The script is in our favor for the first time ever, boys.
I don't see how that team gets left off, which is why I'd rather go that path than have to face UConn and lose on Thursday, or or have to play them in the semifinals without real hope.
I agree, and to be completely honest, it's been 24 years, so let's just get to Friday.
That's it.
Right.
Honestly, to be completely honest, that. If we get to Friday, I'm going to be pretty happy.
Absolutely.
And
just the reason that our hopes are still alive, by the way, just to circle, kind of close the window on the big picture talk, our net ranking is 44.
Right.
Our net ranking has consistently been so good because our out-of-conference schedule was so strong, and our conference is obviously so strong. So our strength of schedule is top 20. And that's why we find ourselves constantly still around, despite the fact that we had the bad weeks and we've had the rough runs, because we've put ourselves in a place just by our own schedule that we have enough points, if you will, to help us on the old tournament resume. The problem is we've had some teams slide on us, right? Villanova no longer really is quality of a win. Utah has fallen off a bit. So now the Creighton win, that's a quad 1 win. That's going to remain a quad 1 win for the entirety of forever. Okay. But listen, all we can do is win the 3 games we have left and hope to get, because these are home games for us, quad 1 opportunities in the limited ability we have in the tournament. Now Butler on the road, this is going to be a quad 1 opportunity on Wednesday. They're 62 in the net. This, they have to be top 75. They check that box for us. So that's great. That would be another quad 1 win. Because remember, our quad 1 record is not great. We're 2-9 quad 1. So, we're kind of fighting for good wins. Butler on the road, good one. And then if we can get a Marquette or a Creighton in the tournament, that would be another good win.
Let's hope the Utes do well in the Pac-12 tournament.
Yeah, let's hope Utah wins the Pac-12. That would be spectacular.
Let's revalue that win up to a quad 1 opportunity, quad 1 win. That would be great.
Let's take a look back at how we got here. All right. Obviously, it was a super exciting week. It started off with the Georgetown game, which I take back to super exciting because that one was super scary. It was a 90-85 victory. I say scary because Georgetown's a team we shouldn't even remotely have almost lost to. Not that we did almost lose, but we kind of did. 39-32 at half, which is certainly scary. And then they actually outscored us in the second half, 53-51. We outlasted them because we are a better team than them. Just to give you some guys who had some great games, because Jordan Dingle certainly deserves a shout out. 22 points for him. That was a great day for him. Actually, everybody except for Glenn Taylor, who started, scored double digits. So Soriano had 10, Ledlam had 12, Jenkins had 15, and then Dingle had 22. And we would be remiss to not mention R.J. Lewis, 19 points for him, 6 rebounds as well off the bench. Guys, 57% from the field, 43% from three. If we could just do this every night, and then our defense play like we played against Creighton, we could win the national championship.
Yeah. If we can only combine all of our best games that we did all season.
That's what I'm saying.
Championship team.
I think this game was a good response. Well, let me say this: it was a response to the press conference. We took care of business. I got to tell you, after the Georgetown win, you felt like good we won, but I don't know that it really made us feel a lot better because a lot of the things that we did against Seton Hall, we did against Georgetown, were just better than Georgetown.
Yeah, it felt like we got by the skin of our teeth, right? We were just, like you said, we were just better than them, and we won by 5 points. That's not very promising.
Correct. And we let them back. We were up big, let them back in at the end of the half like we did against the last 7 teams we lost to, and then we didn't play as well in the second half, and we let them hang around. Now, look, we ultimately won, so that's what we needed to do. We took win. And on the road, things were different. I understand, but it did. I was hoping for them to come out and really reset the narrative.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like, well, we won, so that's good, and it was important because obviously losing to Georgetown would really have ended the season. And they didn't do that. They responded. They played great offensively, as you said.
Right.
But
just defensively, they were just non-existent.
For me personally, there was a little nervousness after the Georgetown game.
100%. And you are right, Nick. To Nick's point, it felt like a game where we outlasted them. Right, the crash was coming. Right, the give up of the lead was coming, and it was happening. It's just that we were better than them enough to prevent that from happening long enough. As Michael Jordan said, right, I never lost any games. I just ran out of time, and that's sort of what it felt like. And particularly after the chaos that was the week before, you're going like, oh my goodness, like how can this be? But you know what? You got the win. We did have Jaden Epps for them just go off against us, as we always have one guy. He scored 31 for the Hoyas. But, it was a win. And
it was a win.
20 shooting for him.
And
20. That's a lot of shots.
That's a hell of a lot of shots. But it was a win. And what it did was it got us, okay, we got our win. Now let's move ahead. Right, and then we moved ahead big time into the other matchup last week, which, as we've mentioned already, was the home game against Creighton. The whiteout, Rick Pitino cracking out the white suit, although it's actually a brand new white suit, by the way, just for the record. He bought it like the day before, or the morning of, actually.
Armani.
From Armani, yeah. Apparently his wife is the one who pushed him. He was gonna wear one of regular suits, but his wife was like, no, you got to wear white. And the white suit looked spectacular.
Oh, yeah, it looked amazing.
Just amazing.
Everybody loved it.
Good whiteout, good crowd. Nick, you mentioned during after the game, right after the game, about how loud the crowd got in the second half in particular.
Yeah, so it's funny because in the first half, we were up by 13 at half, right? And generally, when you're up by 13 at half against the number 15 team in the country, you're feeling great, right? It was very, very melancholy. Even the whole first half, it almost felt like there was like a lull, not like a lull, but like there wasn't a high intensity, even though we were up, right? Everybody was kind of expecting it because we've been up in the first half of multiple games, even against,
right.
You know what I mean?
We've seen that movie before,
this, right? We've been here. This isn't our first rodeo. And then the second half game, and instead of the first 4 minutes, us getting punched in the face, we kind of showed them like, okay, we're still playing. And then, we just held it all throughout. And then I felt like because of the first 4 minutes, right, the under 16 happened and everybody was like, oh, like this is different, right? Like we were expecting it was the same up until halftime. And now all of a sudden, wait a minute, we haven't done this in the last couple of games. And then when we were going down, everybody was just ready to explode. And, we went back and forth. And then once Jenkins hit that shot towards the end, the whole place exploded. And then once that happened, I mean, we were already up by that point by like 10 with like, I don't know how much left, but like up until that point, it didn't really feel like we were going to win because, it's us. You never feel
St.
like we're
John's.
going to win. Yeah, right.
No lead is enough.
Never enough. Well, when we did, and the defense was key. 39% from the field for the Blue Jays. A very good shooting team. 23% from three. They took 26 threes, and they only made 6 of them. That's straight defense is what that is. That's all it is. Not to mention, I thought this was a fascinating stat. They only had 2 bench points. 2 bench points. Now, they don't play a lot of bench guys. They had 4 guys play 1 minute. They had 1 guy play 9 minutes, and they had 1 guy play 23 minutes, though. The guy who played 23 minutes only scored 2 points. He was the only guy who scored off the bench, which means they rely heavily on their starters, which is true of this team. And their starters do well, right? Alexander had 31. Schreierman and Kalkbrenner both had 12. We held Miller to 0. That was good. He's a rotation guy, though. But our defense really shut these guys down, though. I mean, Kalkbrenner's big center, 12 points for him. That's a good day for us. He had a double-double, sure.
8 blocks.
8 blocks. Listen, he's a big guy.
8 blocks
He's a big presence,
by the way.
No,
but we did a good job.
We did a good job against him.
Yeah, no, in particular, Ledlum, I got to give him props on this game. Ledlum really locked down Kalkbrenner whatever he was on him. He really was a menace. He fronted him the whole time. He made sure he didn't get the ball. And even like there was a couple times like Aline came over and he was boxing him out and they were really like annoying him on defense. And they did a really good job. I got to credit the whole defense, honestly. And Ledlum a little bit, who I usually knock.
I think the defensive effort against Creighton, and let's be honest, where Creighton was coming off beating UConn really well. Like, it's not like this Creighton team was playing not good. They were playing really good, and we just defensively just dominated. I mean, Shireman was 1 for 10 from 3-point land. He's one of the best 3-point shooters in the Big East. You had Ashworth, who went off on Connecticut. He was 1 of 6. Like, Trey Alexander's really the only one on their team who had a great game. Everyone else we really shut down. So, I think the defensive effort was stellar. And if that defensive effort continues, then we're talking about a different realm of what we can be. Because the offense is generally, I think the other thing is the offense is spectacular today too.
Well, hold on. We do have to talk about the offense because I think this was a great win for us on multiple reasons. We didn't really succeed from 3-point. We were 2 of 8, 25%, and yet we still came away with the victory, which shows that this team, as much as, yes, you can live and die with the 3, we can hit threes and we can win that way, this team doesn't need that. And I think it's important to show that, listen, guys, we don't have to be a team who shoots 26 threes, right? Like Creighton does. But we can be a team who wins when we don't have the 3-point game going. It's just finding that other way to win, and that's what we did successfully here that we don't always do. And I think that, that's why we found ourselves on the winning end here. 47% from the field is good. Not our best shooting effort, though, by any means. But we had good performances.
But it's better? 100% from free throw line. Which
yes, 10 of 10, baby.
10 of 10.
Stats that we have to talk about because being 100% from the free throw line really matters.
It does.
Every time we went to the free throw line, we were like, and then he made it, and then he made it, and then we made it, and then listen, we went 10 for 10. Imagine get rid of 10 points. We win.
No.
It's 66 is a completely different game.
There was also a lot of guys stepped up in the game and really played at a high level. I mean,
high intensity.
I'm sure we'll get into it when we do spotlight player, but Dennis Jenkins was next level.
Best player on our team.
Best play, like he was playing as good as any guard in the country on Sunday. I mean, he just was. He was absurd. Simeon Wilcher, by the way, came in and gave really good minutes. Looked really, really good, and that gives you a lot of potential for the future.
And just also mention him, by the way, greatly a big fan. I have to say of his comments. He came out after the whole thing and said, because he gets asked, right? He's a young guy, freshman, so he's a guy who might be in the transfer idea. He came out in an interview and said, "Listen, I'm committed to St. John's. Playing time for me right now is not an issue. My time's going to come, and I'm fully committed," which is great to hear in this era of guys leaving teams immediately and you never know who's sticking around, right? He's a guy we're going to build around for the next 4 years. So let's, hearing that, I thought was really refreshing. Not to interrupt the game talk, but that was just something about him that I thought was important. But you are right in that so many guys stepped up. The stat sheet almost doesn't give it justice, right? Wilshire only had 6 points. Aline had 4, but Aline had great minutes, 12 great minutes from Aline, right? Lewis, 2 points for him. He had a bit of an off night for him, but Ejiofor, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, great, really, really game-winning minutes from him.
The other guy,
which gives Soriano a break.
Yeah, absolutely. The other guy that I really want to talk about. Sorry to talk over there.
No, you're good.
But Glenn Taylor had a day. I thought Glenn Taylor's defense was spectacular, and that was kind of with him. The book on him coming in was that he's a great defensive player, and he really, really showed it against Creighton. And again, that gives you hope because he's only a sophomore, so that gives you hope for building the future that he can be a key piece to this team if he can play defense like that. He rebounded really well. Like he might be that guy that doesn't need to score 27 points a game, but he can impact the game in a lot of different ways. So I was very impressed with Glenn. I was impressed with a lot of them, but Glenn Taylor stuck out to me personally.
10 rebounds and 6 assists, right? So not only was he playing defense, he was facilitating on offense.
He was doing little things.
He was very good. Everybody on our team was really great. I want to give it, since everybody else is giving shout-outs, I want to give a shout-out to Dingle because Dingle went 8 for 13 on the shooting, and he was, whenever he got the ball, I thought he was going to score. And
Dingle's great.
That happened too in Georgetown too, when he had 21 points. 22. So he's been on it in the last 2 days, 2 games.
Well, it was certainly what the doctor ordered at exactly the right moment, and it got us our first signature win for sure of the year when we desperately needed it, and it now brought us back to being a team who's got a shot at the NCAA tournament and a shot at being in a place where we can play ourselves in and not just hope to backdoor it in.
Yeah.
So
we're back in we have a shot now.
That's it.
It's still.
I think we have a clear path to the NCAA tournament now.
First of all, you never know how the season's going to go. So there's only so many teams who can get in the tournament, right? There's only so many teams can finish with 25 wins or whatever. That's why you say I agree with you that the path is fairly clear. It's just I call it a hope because it sounds cooler.
I think I'm a little less bullish on it than you guys. I think there's still a good chance, but it's not by any. I think there's a lot of things.
Lock. I would never say it's a lock.
No, but I think there's a lot of things that got to go right. You got to look at the smaller conferences.
We have to beat.
No. But beyond that, you got to see what happens in championship week. You need if some teams win 100%. That aren't supposed to, you could shrink that bubble, and that's hard for us. So there's a lot of hoping and praying and worrying will come for the next 3 weeks.
To your point, we should look out for San Francisco, because if San Francisco wins the West Coast Conference by some miracle over St. Mary's and Gonzaga, they're going to be a bubble stealer.
Yeah, that 100%.
Good, and they're not a bad team.
They're a good team.
Those small conferences, you need the teams that are. You need the teams that are going to make it to win the tournament. Otherwise, we're going to shrink the bubble, and we can't. We need the bubble to be as big as possible.
For sure.
Indiana State.
We want them to win. We want all the teams who are supposed to win because that gives us more opportunities. All right, let's look at the Spotlight Player of the Week. As we talked about, obviously the Creighton game was heavy, but the Georgetown game counts as well. That's how the Spotlight Player of the Week works. So, Craig, we'll start with you. Who do you got?
So it's a tough week for this, to be honest. I don't know that it's clear cut. I'm gonna go with Jordan Dingle. I think Dingle played really well both games, and I think if he can get hot again, it changes the dynamic of this team because he's become that third scorer that we really need. And I was very impressed with the way he played this week and bounced back. So I'm gonna say Jordan Dingle for me.
All right, Jordan Dingle. Nick, who do you got?
Even though I talked about Dingle a little bit earlier, I think he went 8 for 13 both games. I think he did a fantastic game, but I'm going to go with Jenkins. As we talked about earlier, Jenkins went. He was just on a different level. He came out. He was ready to ball. He showed it on both ends of the floor. He 12 for 18 against Creighton. He had 6 assists against 27 points against Georgetown. He had 15 points, 5 assists, 5 for 8. He is And he was like, I mean, he's our main ball handler, and now we're really running our entire offense through him. And I mean,
as we should.
And it's it's proven good against Creighton and Georgetown. Not to discredit that.
Well, I mean, the win's not as big, but I get you. So your vote is Dennis Jenkins.
My vote is Janis Jenkins. Yeah.
Jenkins stepped up when it mattered.
He does. Listen, he's the best player on our team. I've said it all year, and I'll stand by. I'll die on that hill. However, this week I am going to go with Jordan Dingle. Great week for him. 18 points in the Creighton game. Really, he's a guy who is on paper the third guy on our team, right? 22 points against Georgetown too. Again, not to discredit that game, but 18 points. You come out against a 15 team in the country, and you are second highest on the team as the guy who's supposed to be the third scorer. That's how you win games, and that's what he did. So Jordan Dingle getting the first. I think it's the first for him. First spotlight player of the week for him. So. Exciting night for him.
And he was supposed to keep track, so
millions of dollars. Like most things in life, Craig fell behind in keeping track, and he just continued to not keep track. So
I know how many everybody won.
Oh yeah, well maybe you can rattle them off for us one day, but we don't need to hear it now. Anyway, moving ahead, we got one game this week, and we'll talk about one other game next week, just because DePaul is DePaul. So we'll just kind of get that game out of the way. There's not much to say about it. I got to be completely honest.
That's our sister school, Vincent.
Yeah, well, if there was relegation in college basketball, I know who would be going down. Anyway,
DePaul is the worst Power 6 team probably in the last decade.
All right, we'll touch on DePaul in a minute. We're first game of this week, the only game of this week. Very important game. I cannot stress, very important. Quad 1 opportunity for us. Continuation of momentum for us is at 8:30 on CBS Sports Network on Wednesday in Hinkle Fieldhouse against Butler. We've only won twice in Hinkle Fieldhouse ever. So, not great. Butler, however, is coming in on a 4-game losing streak. They lost 2 games at Hinkle. They lost to Marquette and Creighton back-to-back, and they lost 2 on the road. They lost at Villanova and at Seton Hall before they come in and face us. Now, obviously, we beat them last time, 86-70. That game was at Carnesecca Arena, but a nice 16-point victory there. We've got a familiar face, obviously. We touched on it last time, but Posh Alexander, of course, on the Butler Bulldogs now. So it'll be a game for him. I'm sure he'd like to step up because Butler is also fighting for a tournament spot. They constantly find themselves on the bubble in the first 4 out or next 4 out at this point. But certainly looking to get a bid. So they are not fighting for nothing. Posh Alexander leads the team in assists. No surprise there. Not their leading scorer, though. Pierre Brooks is their leading scorer, averages 14 a game. And this is a team that is in a spot similar to us and who is going to step up big. We just have to step up bigger. And again, we did that when we faced them at home. And we did a good job offensively. We shot 50% from the field, 28% from 3, 6 of 21, which isn't great. We weren't great on defense, 40% for them, 31% from 3. Those are numbers we need to bring down if we want to see ourselves victorious this time. So last time we had 5 guys score double digits. We were 50% from the field. Obviously, offensive success leads to winning basketball games. Besides having 5 guys score double digits, please just don't answer with that. What do we need to do in this spot to come away with a victory at a hostile environment that we're not really used to winning at?
So I think one of the key things to this game, I mean, listen, we always shoot bad at Hinkle. Like you said, we only won there twice ever, which is incredible. But it's a tough, I've been there. It's tough to shoot at. It's weird angles, all that fun stuff. Field house turns sideways. It's fun. If you ever get a chance to go out there, go out there. It's amazing. I love it. I wrote a paper on it when I was in college, but that's a different point. I think the key to this game, honestly, is we're one of the best rebounding teams in the country. They're one of the worst rebounding teams in the country. They average 35.6 a game. We need to rebound well, as we do. And if we shoot like we did and play defense like we did against Creighton, I don't think we're going to have a problem. And I am a little worried about we have to lock up Posh a little bit. So I will note that. I
definitely agree with the locking up of Posh because not only that includes offense and defense for Posh because we all know how Posh can be defensively. So Posh is definitely a guy we want to watch out for. My biggest key to this game, in my opinion, is besides getting the ruler out and measuring Hinkle to show our guys that it's the same size as the court in Carnesecca.
Oh, all right, great. Good reference.
Okay. Had to do it. Had to be done. What I would do, I think for us, what's going to be really important is the last 4 minutes of the first half and the first 4 minutes of the second half. In the games that we've struggled and we've given back leads, that's where you saw it coming. And against Creighton, we didn't do that. And that is a huge difference because it's just a momentum change. It doesn't mean that they won't make a run at some point in the second half, but if you give the lead back a little bit right before the half and then a little bit, it's like all the good play in the first half is gone. So
Yeah.
I think those are critical moments for us that we really need to play well in. That, and we really need to play the connected defense we played against Creighton. And if we continue like that, we'll be in great shape.
I agree with those being the key minutes for us, and I do agree with the Posh Alexander. I think for us, it's again showing that we can do it without making threes. We've only won 2 games there. We shoot poorly when we play at Hinkle. We need to figure out ways to score without living or dying with the 3 like we did against Creighton, right? If we can make sure that, listen, if we go 2 of 8 from 3 and still win, that's the kind of game I'm looking for here because I just think we don't play well there. Let's not try to shoot the lights out. Let's stick to the game we played last time and get ourselves back on the winning horse. Now, I give you another question here. So, obviously, we've already got the Creighton win. This is a quad 1 opportunity here. Which game is more important? The Creighton win or this game?
Now that we already beat Creighton, as you said, I think the Butler win is more important now, right? But if I think there's also a world where, like, if now that we beat Creighton and we lose against Butler, we could still make the tournament. So ultimately, I guess I do think that the Creighton win is more important.
Okay.
The Creighton win is more important. I think the Butler game is important now because we need to win, but you could say the same theoretically against Georgetown too, right? So that no one would argue that the Georgetown game is more important. The Creighton win is important because it's our first signature victory, and it's another level of victory opposed to a game that we probably are expected to win. It's a game we were not expected to win. So that's why I think that game ultimately has a bigger impact for us. So that's why I think that game is more important. But not to take away the importance of the Butler game, because now that we're past that game,
it's still a quad 1 win. Both quad 1 wins.
Butler one is massively important because the whole season hinges on the Butler game this Wednesday. The whole season will hinge on the Georgetown game the next week. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair, but that doesn't mean the Georgetown game is as important as the Butler game or the Creighton game.
True.
I mean, the answer is sure. And once you hit the Big East tournament, every game is more important than any game we play in the season because if we lose, we're done, right? And the same thing about the NCAA tournament. But the point is, I think impactful. Use the word impactful. I think that's probably a better gauge. And I agree. I think Creighton is the most impactful game we've had all year for multiple reasons, right? It was a whiteout game where we needed to make a statement after what was a crazy week. Sure, we had the Georgetown win in the middle, but that was kind of a layup. And we got it. And we got the job done, and now we got our guys came back out for Rick Pitino. And, Rick Pitino even said after the game, he said, listen, I this is the closest group of guys I've had since the Providence teams I had. And I needed to rattle their cages and to get them to play like this, and it worked. So, that's why I'm with you. I just, wanted to get your opinion, see what you thought, see if you were really disliking the Bulldogs as much as you do, because I know Nick is a big anti-Bulldog guy. He's a real not big Butler guy.
I'm not a big not Butler guy.
You are. You don't like Butler.
There's been times in the past where I wasn't a huge fan of Butler.
That's all I'm saying. That's it.
They have a nice stadium now.
And
I
do see a bit of a trap here with the Posh Alexander setup. We do have to keep him limited because having that as a guy who wants to come out and ruin our hopes, I could certainly see happening.
We have no room for error anymore.
No.
The room for error is gone.
No,
so we have to win against Butler.
100%. That game is Wednesday, 8:30, CBS Sports Network. Then we get a break. We get a break between Wednesday and our next game is in March, guys. We've made it. We've made it to March, the end of the season. 2 games in March before the Big East tournament. The first one being on Tuesday, March 5th, 9 p.m. on Fox Sports 1 in Chicago against the DePaul Blue Demons. Now, we've mentioned DePaul. We've bashed DePaul. And all of that is fair. because DePaul has not won a game in this year. They, as a matter of fact, they haven't won a game since December 30th of 2023. They have not won a Big East game. They came close. They were a layup away, and they almost got the layup against Georgetown, but they whiffed it, as Craig showed us the video 4 times, despite us all having seen it before that we were on this Zoom. But this is a team that is just fundamentally unsound and is not really equipped to win games in the Big East in DePaul.
They're not a Big East caliber team.
They're not. And listen, they get it. They fired their coach in the middle of the season. You can't expect much from them. What it is for everybody is a trap game because you cannot lose to DePaul. Right. They're in the 300 range in terms of the net. They're like a quad 15 loss. They're what they are in your resume is they're automatic denial. If you lose to them, you just automatically don't make the tournament if you lose to DePaul. I'm kidding, but I don't think you're actually. For us, not. For us in this situation, if we lose to DePaul, the season's over. I'm just saying,
there's no coming back from that.
Like if by some miracle Marquette loses to them or something, I don't know who the rest of their games, but say they lost to Marquette would still make the tournament despite.
They would probably drop like 2 seed lines.
Oh, they would go from being a 2 seed to being a 5, and they would deserve to because that's how bad DePaul is.
That's how bad DePaul is.
But anyway, I don't want to hammer them too bad. I mean, they are our sister school. Shout out Nick for saying that every time. We beat them 85-57 last time out in UBS Arena in front of a weekly attended game.
It was 6:30 on a Tuesday.
I think it was just a bad recipe there. It's a Tuesday. DePaul's terrible. It's UBS. It was a bad recipe. I think we don't get judged on that. I just wanted to make fun of it because
no, that's fair.
It had the audience it deserved, though. I got to be honest.
Shout out DePaul. Shout out Niagara, our other sister school. The only 3 convention schools in North America.
I think you might be the only person in human history that cares about this.
Bro. Because also the only guy who brings it up every year. We didn't play Niagara this year. He brought up again.
Yeah, let people
shouting them out, bro. No one cares.
Yeah, let people know.
No one cares. No one cares.
I love you, Nick, but no one cares.
Come on, bro.
This is in the MAC.
This is in the MAC.
In the MAC.
It's the AA MAC.
DePaul probably would be better off in the MAC now.
DePaul would have more conference wins in the MAC. I would actually guarantee that they had more. I'm sorry. Actually, no. I would guarantee they wouldn't have less. I can guarantee they wouldn't have less wins in the MAC.
They wouldn't have fired their coach in the MAC.
You want to know something? It's a little sad.
DePaul, besides DePaul season.
Well, it's happy if you're DePaul. Sort of. DePaul has a NCAA tournament win more recently than we do.
No, that is pretty sad for us.
2004, 2000 for St. John's.
Well, they're not getting one this year.
So no, they're definitely getting one this year, and we got a shot. So
what would be nice for DePaul this year is
suck at DePaul.
What would be real nice for DePaul this year will be on March 14th when the season finally comes to an end. That'll be a happy day for them. They're going to lose on Wednesday, but they're going to have to lose that day, so they're not going to be happy. But then the next day, the season will have ended, and it'll be over. It'll have had its final moments, and you can just move on with their lives. Those poor people, the poor players, too. Anyway, that's a game we cannot afford to lose and should not lose. I would ask you what the recipe for victory is, although against DePaul, it is very simple. Just play your game and let DePaul play theirs.
Just play basketball.
Just basketball.
Show up to the arena and don't get snowed out or something.
Yeah,
just
don't fall asleep. That's it. Yeah. Don't be looking toward.
Be there, and shoot.
All right, let's not jinx ourselves here, guys. All right, let's be a little more not crushing of them, just in case, okay? Because next week when we hop on and all of a sudden we're in tears, we won't sound as fun.
Oh no! If we lose against DePaul, I'm not being back on the pod. I'm gonna jump in front of a train on the way.
Unlike them, who will be happy the season ended on March 14th. For us, the season will not end fast enough because we'll have to endure 2 weeks of bashing for the loss. Anyway, that'll do it for this episode. For Craig and Nick, I'm Vincent. Go Johnnies. Keep chasing.